In this video, I'll be reacting to a crazy moment from CNN that recently took place. They were having a debate on the panel about Kilmar Abrego Garcia, also known by the mainstream media as Maryland Man, when in reality he's an MS-13 gang member, he entered our country illegally, and he used to beat up his wife. That's the guy all the Democrats are fighting to bring back home. They're discussing Kilmar Abrego Garcia along with just the conversation of mass deportations in general. And they're going back and forth, and it's a good exchange. On the panel, you had conservative Shermichael Singleton, conservative Scott Jennings, then you had Anna Navarro, who is a crazy person, and you had a few other liberals. And it gets heated. And Shermichael, if you're familiar with him, he usually does a really good job in these situations. He's killing it. He's going off. He's saying exactly how we feel, which is that we are a sovereign nation. You shouldn't and you can't be allowed to just enter our country however you want to, just because you want to, and then we're expected to deal with that. We're expected to just accept you here so that you can take advantage of our opportunities and so you can take advantage of taxpayers' dollars and you can be one of us. We don't have the infrastructure, the resources, the money, or the capacity to allow the entire world to come here and just become a citizen all of a sudden just because they decided that that's what they are. And so he's talking about, how that's not sustainable and how the Biden administration failed us with immigration, and he's killing it. Scott Jennings as well, he mentions the fact that all of the Democrats are mad that you have some immigrants who are being deported with limited and in some cases no due process, but they didn't seem to throw a fit when millions of people, over 10 million people in 4 years, entered our country illegally with no sort of process. So it's okay if they don't have a process to come here, but it's not okay if they don't have a process to get out. And so he raises that point, and it's just a great exchange, and the conservatives on the panel are winning the debate. And then Anna Navarro decides to make a comment to Shermichael about slavery. And it's really weird because it doesn't make any sense what she attempts to say. Shermichael is going off about how we need to deport all of the illegals, basically. And then Anna Navarro says something along the lines of, well, there are many people other than black people who were brought here as slaves who are here illegally. And so she doesn't actually try to compare slaves to illegal aliens. But the timing of the comment and the verbiage of the comment was so strange and from left field that I 100% understand why Shermichael interpreted what she said in that moment as comparing slaves to illegal aliens. Because it just didn't make any sense. You'll see what I mean when I play the clip here. It didn't make any sense. It was the weirdest thing. She just threw it out there. It didn't make sense. And so in Shermichael's mind, Anna Navarro just compared, African Americans whose ancestors were brought here by force on slave ships to illegal aliens that are choosing to illegally step foot across our country's border. And so he gets all worked up and he's saying, don't you ever compare, African Americans and, the history of slavery to illegal aliens just stepping foot in our country. And she's going, I didn't say that. If you would listen, I didn't say that, which she didn't. But again, the timing of the comment was just so strange and weird. And I had to play it back a couple of times just to even understand what she was saying because it didn't make any sense. So I'm gonna go ahead and let you take a look at it here. Look at this video.
The question is, has the government presented evidence in court that Abrego Garcia is a member of MS-13?
And my response,
and the answer is no, that has not happened in court. But it doesn't mean that they have not made those claims publicly. It doesn't mean that those claims are not in police reports.
In 2019,
it doesn't mean that they're not in police reports. They're just not statements that were made in
2019, the immigration judge at the time believed the Prince George's County gang unit and the evidence that they presented before that judge at the time that Mr. Garcia did indeed belong to a gang. This is not my opinion. People can Google this crap. They can Google this. CBS reported on this. If a judge believed it in 2019, is it now all of a sudden not true?
The judge granted him a withholding of removal.
No, I acknowledge that fact.
Which is a different issue. Hold on.
But the point remains that a judge found the evidence to be credible that Mr. Garcia did indeed belong to a gang. So now all of a sudden we're just not going to believe judges?
The judge
we can't have it both ways.
I don't want to go too far down this rabbit hole, but my only point is that the government has not presented beyond the police report. They have not actually presented the evidence to prove that he belonged to this gang.
So police reports not considered evidence before a court of law? Do judges not consider police reports? What are we saying
but
here?
Shermichael, what was the original? I actually want Shermichael to finish the point.
It absolutely is relevant to the argument from the administration, which is that Mr. Garcia belonged to a gang as one of the reasons of deporting him out of the country. And you guys are saying there's no truth to it. There's no facts to this. That's not true.
The Constitution is very clear. It does not say citizens. It says no person should be deprived of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness without due process. It doesn't matter what he's done in his past. The Boston Wait a minute. Let me finish. The Boston bomber had due process.
Yeah, that's due process.
That's what this is about.
Wait,
I gave you time. Let me finish.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. This is a president who continues to twist the Constitution to adapt to whatever his vision is, to the point of the 2-year-old who was deported without due process, an American citizen. His father did not want him to go, and the only access he had to his daughter was listening to his daughter cry in the background in a 1-minute call. That 4-year-old did not get access to a doctor, despite the fact of having stage 4 cancer, did not have his medication with him when he was deported, an American citizen, to Honduras. This is what this president is doing. He is twisting the definition of the Constitution, and people like you are disparaging character to try to justify the disparaging.
I'm not disparaging
due process
character.
does matter.
Did
You're
he
right
have
about
due
that.
process?
But the idea that Mr. Garcia's past doesn't matter is ludicrous.
To the
we
due
live
process
in
absolutely
a sovereign nation, and this idea that people can just come into our country and do whatever the heck they want to do is absurd to me. And if Democrats want to die on this hill, I promise you'll regret it politically. So go right ahead. Go right ahead.
For Americans.
Go right ahead. We don't want people breaking our laws coming into our country. That is a fact.
Let me let Scott have a word, and then we'll move on.
It seems to me that the political analysis of this, though, is, and a lot of average people are looking at it this way. Why is it that we can let 20 million people into the country just walk across, whatever, and there's no real process for them to do that, but then we have to individually pick out every single person and go through years upon years upon years of paperwork and this and that and the other, and all we're trying to do is send them back to where they came from because they came here illegally in the first place. 20 million in with no process. How do you get 20 million out with years and years of people fighting every single case? You could cherry pick any case you want, but the reality is the crisis that put Donald Trump in the White House was caused over years and years and years of neglect and letting people walk into here without any process at all, and now you're trying to gum up the works to keep them here.
A lot of them came in. A lot of them came in with parole. A lot of them came in.
CNN polling shows 54% of Americans want Mr.
November
Abrego
polling
Garcia
showed Donald
back.
Trump won the
That's
election.
CNN polling.
The
public is shifting.
We are a sovereign nation, and you cannot just come into our country illegally whenever the heck you want, because we can't do it to any other country on the face of this earth.
Asylum is a legal right.
If you come in illegally, you have to leave. Americans are tired of that. We do not have unlimited resources.
You know who was here illegally with a deportation order? Marco Rubio's grandfather.
All right,
We're not talking about Marco Rubio.
Oh, now we're not? Now that's not relevant?
It's not
No,
relevant.
I'm talking
It's not
about
relevant
Marco
to this
Rubio because Marco
conversation at
Rubio
all.
used to be an advocate for TPS for Venezuelans, and Marco Rubio used to
I'm
be
not Marco
an advocate
Rubio,
for Nicaraguans and Cubans. No, I know you're
If you come into
not.
this country illegally, you are going home. Simple as that. We do not have unlimited resources.
I think
in
a
this
lot of
country
Americans
to take care of other
There's
people.
a hell of a lot of
Hold on,
people,
guys.
other than the black
Anna.
people who were brought here as slaves who came to this country illegally.
They're
From a
not
lot
the
of
same as
different-
black people who were brought here against
That's
our will.
exactly what I
They
just said.
decided
I
to
said
walk
there is
their
a
butts
lot of
across the
people
border. There's a
other
big
than the
difference.
black
There is
people.
a big difference.
That's exactly what I
There's a
just
big
said.
difference.
That's
Shermichael,
exactly what I just said,
Shermichael
Shermichael.
and
You can
Anna.
act indignant. That's
Okay.
exactly what
It's
I
not
just
about
said.
acting
Let me
You just heard me say
Shermichael,
that's other than the black
Anna
people.
and
That's
Shermichael,
as
please.
slaves. There are a lot of people from
Shermichael, I think you actually misheard what she. I think you misheard
Okay.
what she said.
No, he purposely misheard it.
She said.
I purposely
Yes, you
misheard.
did.
So now you're in my brain?
Shermichael, listen to me for
Is
just a second.
Is that where we're going?
You think
Shermichael,
I would
listen to me
say
for a
I who have
second.
advocated
Anna,
for black
please
people
stop.
my entire life would
Anna,
say something like that?
Anna,
Give me a
Because
damn
you've
break.
advocated for black
Anna,
people,
please
great.
stop.
Congratulations. Last time I checked, I'm black. You're not.
Okay, Shermichael.
That's right. I'm Latino, and my people are being racially profiled.
It is.
And
And do I have to remind you the history of my people?
Sure,
Do
but
I
I
want to
have to-
go there?
no, I
Do you
don't.
really
Okay,
want to go
we're
there?
gonna
and
go to
know
break.
how
know
I
the
grew?
history.
Raul, we're going to go to
You know
break.
why?
Raul
Because
Reyes,
kidding
thank
me?
you very much for
Because
joining
history
us.
people have to
Everybody
study
else,
history.
hang tight.
History was not
We'll be right back.
erased when I was studying history, like the president.
I'm not gonna lie, that's some good TV right there. Now that is entertainment. CNN might just make a comeback if if that's what they're putting on the air. That's TV, okay? That is entertainment if I've ever seen it. That was a great exchange. And it's funny how the conversation at the end turned into, I'm more oppressed, I'm more oppressed, I'm more oppressed. I hate that that's what it ended up turning into. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed this video, like, subscribe to my channel, and be on the lookout. There's many more videos coming your way very soon.